doing this next year as well. Today's panel is focusing on Mustang Panda and the rise of custom malware. Callie from Critical Start. One second, something got interrupted me. I'm so sorry about this. Callie and I will be discussing the rise of custom malware, usage by state-sponsored actors, and how you can protect your data against these overlapping threats. And diving into emerging of Mustang Panda, a highly sophisticated Chinese advanced resistant threat group. The webinar is also recorded. This was interrupted to me a second ago because I need to click accept, and will be available on demand. You also should be able to watch all the other webinars we did in the past, and you can see the link right now here. If no, go to our LinkedIn page and you have access to all the webinars we did in the beginning. This is a live webinar, so please use this to ask questions. We'll make sure we get to questions later on after we're done presenting, and we'll be more than happy to answer and have a discussion with you as well. Callie, please tell us about yourself and the company.
Hi, Evgeny. Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, if that's all right with you.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Great. Thank you so much for having me today. My name is Callie Guenther, and I'm the Senior Manager of Cyber Threat Research here at Critical Start. My background through most of my career was in the military, and I worked in intelligence systems as a part of the United States Navy. I transitioned to a corporate intelligence analyst role after my time in Afghanistan, working on a few projects building out dark web monitoring capabilities. I graduated from Johns Hopkins University with an MS in Government Analytics and Data Science, and in 2018, I started here at Critical Start as the CyberSOC data scientist. I spent a couple of years on the engineering side of the house before being called back into the intelligence space. And as I mentioned, now I'm running the all-source intelligence, threat research, malware reverse engineering, and detection development programs within the cyber research unit at Critical Start. So before I get started, I'm going to tell you a quick introduction to Critical Start. Critical Start simplifies breach prevention with managed detection and response services that flex to your business objectives and cybersecurity vision, regardless of the complexity. With the only technology in the industry that allows you to detect every threat and resolve every alert whenever and wherever you are, an expert SOC team that you can act on your behalf, plus cyber threat intelligence and detection development at your service will detect the right threat, respond with the right actions, and effectively stop breaches. Now, I'm not going to jump too much into the agenda here. We've got a lot to cover, so if it's all right with you, Evgeny, I'll just get started.
Yes, definitely.
Great. So Mustang Panda, Red Delta, Earth Preza, Bronze President, they're all names associated with a sophisticated Chinese state-sponsored Advanced Persistent Threat, or APT group, which is known for its targeted cyber espionage activities. This group has been active since at least 2018 and has targeted various sectors, including non-governmental organizations, NGOs, governmental bodies, and political organizations, primarily in the European geography. Mustang Panda represents a dynamic and evolving threat in the cybersecurity landscape, with an objective for intelligence gathering, influence over political landscapes, and potential cyber espionage. Their strategies are continually evolving. Their use of both common and custom malware combined with social engineering tactics shows a complex and adaptive approach to cybercrime activities. This group's ability to adapt and innovate poses significant challenges for defense and attribution. From employing new communication protocols to crafting custom tools for specific campaigns, Mustang Panda demonstrates the need for constant vigilance and an adaptive defense strategy. The new backdoor, referred to as Mustang, is part of their latest arsenal. This custom malware allows Mustang Panda to infiltrate targeted systems and networks, potentially gaining access to sensitive information. Being custom designed is less likely to be recognized by conventional antivirus software, making it an effective tool for covert cyber operations. This latest custom backdoor represents a significant shift in APT tactics. By using the MQTT protocol, typically associated with IoT devices, Mustang can evade conventional security measures. This stealthy approach enables the group to execute commands remotely on compromised systems, creating serious security challenges for organizations. Mustang stands out due to its utilization of the MQTT, or message queuing telemetry transport. This lightweight protocol is typically used for machine-to-machine and IoT, Internet of Things communications. Known for its efficiency, MQTT minimizes network bandwidth and power usage, making it an attractive choice for large-scale IoT operations. In the world of malware, though, Mustang leverages MQTT in a relatively novel way. Instead of serving IoT devices, this protocol is harnessed for command and control communications. This choice is rather unusual for APT groups and may contribute to evading detection, since MQTT is generally seen as a benign protocol. Mustang is also characterized as a single-stage backdoor. Well, what does that mean? Essentially, it's that malware can execute its malicious payload without the need to download additional components. This all-in-one approach can make it more streamlined and potentially more insidious. What really sets Mustang apart is its flexibility. It appears to be designed with customization in mind, allowing for tailoring to each specific campaign in which it's utilized. This adaptability can enhance its effectiveness and further obscure its nefarious nature. And finally, Mustang's use of the open source QMQTT library demonstrates that the malware taps into existing technologies to exploit MQTT's capabilities. This practical approach embodies a trend we're seeing more and more: the adept, creative use of legitimate tools and protocols for malicious ends. So let's talk a little bit more about MQTT's role in operations as an IoT messaging protocol. MQTT, as I mentioned, stands for Message Queuing Telemetry Transport, and it operates on top of the TCP/IP protocol. It's widely known for its 3 levels of quality of service, or QoS, ensuring that messages reach their intended destination. This is made possible through a broker or a server and multiple clients, where the broker acts as the hub, routing the messages to the correct recipients. The broker serves as the central hub that routes messages between the senders and the correct receivers. In the context of Mustang Backdoor, MQTT functions as a command and control, or C2 communication protocol. This role enables Mustang Panda APT group to communicate with the infected systems, send commands, and exfiltrate data, all while evading traditional security measures. The Mustang backdoor ties into this malicious campaign in a world where Mustang MQTT serves a little bit different purpose. It becomes the command and control, or C2 protocol. This is how the APT group communicates with their infected systems. They send commands and receive data through the use of MQTT, which provides a way for them to manage their malicious activities. The 4 primary pillars of MQTT that make Mustang so evasive: first, it is a legitimate protocol. The second is its encoded and disguised communication. Then its ability to bypass traditional firewalls, and finally, its effective use of network resources. The utilization of MQTT in cyber espionage operations is notable for its effectiveness in evading these traditional security measures. As a legitimate protocol widely used for benign purposes, network traffic generated by MQTT is less likely to be flagged as suspicious. Additionally, MQTT ability to encode and disguise communication within standard network traffic makes it challenging for security tools to recognize it as malicious. This ability to bypass traditional firewalls, which often allow known safe protocols like MQTT, further reduces its detection chances. Combine this with its light overhead and small packet size, MQTT helps in maintaining a low profile, further minimizing the chance of detection and making it a powerful tool in the hands of threat actors. What sets this group apart is this continuous refinement and expansion of their tools. Shifting from known remote access Trojans like PlugX to their very own custom developed weaponry is a real step in an advanced direction. The PlugX was once a favorited weapon in the Mustang Panda arsenal. As a well-known remote access Trojan, it offered a wide range of capabilities. But Mustang Panda has been moving away from this and instead focusing on developing unique and harder to detect tools. There's a striking complexity across Mustang Panda's malware versions, each with variations in infection chains, abilities, and targets. However, what they share is an advanced anti-detection, anti-analysis technique using quality obfuscation and sandbox detection. Tone-ins and tone-shell tone-ins serves as an installer and ensures persistence for the tone-shell malware. This is really a lethal combination. The former, tone-ins, essentially prepares the system for the latter's infiltration. Together, they create this formidable duo with tone-ins laying the groundwork and tone-shell acting as the primary backdoor. Operating as a shell loader, tone-shell begins by gathering device-related data with the exact information varying by version of malware. Its capabilities are far-reaching, including exfiltrating content such as system and user files. Moreover, as a backdoor, it can cause chain infections by uploading and executing files, potentially injecting additional Trojans, ransomware, or other malicious programs into systems. The presence of tone-ins can lead to a ripple effect, causing multiple system infections, resulting in privacy violations, financial losses, or even identity theft. But it doesn't stop there. Tone-ins has been deployed in politically charged attacks. The consequences of an infection can be catastrophic on a much broader geographic scale. Additionally, Pubload is a downloader. This illustrates a dynamic approach. Pubload fetches and executes additional malicious payloads, allowing Mustang Panda to tailor their approach post-compromise. It's a strategy that enables them to adapt on the fly, a real telling sign of their sophistication. Now, why is this shift to custom tools so critical for Mustang Panda? Really, it's a strategic conversation. These custom tools, characterized by their ability to evade detection due to lack of pre-existing signatures in antivirus databases, represent a substantial challenge to conventional security solutions. They're more than just evasive. They provide Mustang Panda with a newfound flexibility and specificity, allowing them to tailor their tools to a specific campaign and to a specific objective within a campaign. Whether for a single target or a broader mission, this tailoring is a monumental shift. But perhaps most alarmingly is the introduction of these new tools that underscores a growing and maturing trend in the threat landscape. By focusing on custom adaptable malware, Mustang Panda demonstrates a nuanced understanding of how to bypass these traditional defenses. And the shift should serve as a warning for a sign of continually evolving threats that organizations face. In 2022, the cybersecurity community witnessed an alarming evolution in Mustang Panda's tactics through a series of targeted attacks on government agencies in the Myanmar in Myanmar. They utilized a mix of known and new custom tools, including Mustang backdoor that we just discussed. The group displayed an escalating commitment to customized campaign-specific malware, the first of its kind. The attack on Myanmar's government agencies by Mustang Panda was a sophisticated and multi-layered cyber operation. Starting with a highly targeted spear phishing campaign, the group utilized both known and custom tools, such as Hordur and Mustang, to infiltrate and move laterally and eventually exfiltrate sensitive data. The use of MQTT for command and control is a noteworthy departure from their common practices, demonstrating this group's innovation and adaptability. The continuous evolution of tools and tactics, coupled with their meticulous approach to persistence and concealment, really emphasizes the group's strategic foresight and the increase in complexity of defending against such advanced threats. So what is the broader implication of custom malware? Well, the utilization of custom malware by APT groups in general represents an escalation in the cyber threat landscape, specifically tailored to exploit vulnerabilities within a targeted organization. Custom malware often bypasses traditional AV solutions and security solutions that we rely on today. These known malware signatures for detection may not always give us the result we expect. Given the unique nature of this custom malware, this type of tool is unlikely to appear on threat intelligence feeds or blacklists, really enabling it to slip past defenses unnoticed with a disturbingly low detection rate. Furthermore, malware often carries advanced capabilities such as lateral movement, privilege escalation, evasion techniques, data exfiltration, you name it. And this allows the APT group significant control over the compromised system once infiltrated. These custom designed threats can even embed themselves deeply within a system and maintain persistence for years, granting APT groups long-term access to compromised networks. This obviously poses a challenge to organizations and necessitates the deployment of advanced threat detection and response mechanisms to combat these increasingly sophisticated threats. So here are a few case studies and examples of organizations that have successfully defended against attacks. And this just really illustrates how these strategies play out in the real world. So the first case study is Google. Google has continually defended against such advanced threats through a combination of strategies. For example, in 2021, they defended and mitigated an APT group that attempted to exploit a vulnerability on their system. The Advanced Detection and Response Team, known as Threat Analysis Group, or TAG, uses a combination of machine learning, rule-based detection, and anomaly detection to identify such threats. They also make use of security measures such as sandboxing, auto updates, and phishing protections to keep their users safe. The second case study is Microsoft. In December of 2020, Microsoft discovered a custom malware, SolarGate, also known as Sunburst, used in a sophisticated attack against various high-profile targets within the organization. Despite the advanced nature of the malware, Microsoft was able to respond quickly due to its advanced threat detection and response mechanisms. They used machine learning algorithms to identify anomalous behavior in their network, which led to the discovery of the malware. Their response involved isolating and removing the malware and then applying updates immediately to their security systems to protect against these threats. The third case study is Operation Aurora. Now, this is early in the EDR space, but Operation Aurora was a series of cyber attacks conducted in late 2009, which involved the use of custom malware, Hydrock. These attacks targeted several corporations, including Google, Adobe, Juniper, just to name a few. However, the advanced threat detection and response mechanisms of these organizations enabled them to identify and mitigate the attacks. For instance, Google's internal systems detected a specific traffic pattern, leading to the discovery of the attack. Information sharing allowed them to pass that to their partners at Adobe and Juniper, and the companies took immediate action to isolate the affected systems and prevent further damage. Each of these cases really demonstrates how a robust, multi-layered security posture that combines several detection and response mechanisms can effectively defend against sophisticated APT attacks, leveraging custom malware. However, it's important to note that defense isn't just about technology. It also involves human elements such as staff training, incident response planning, and continuous evolution and updating of security policies and procedures. Now, to effectively fend off threats that exploit MQTT or similar protocols, organizations must adopt a holistic and layered defense strategy. Given the dual nature of MQTT, insistent monitoring of its traffic patterns becomes paramount. Tools like network intrusion defense systems, or NIDS, that can delve into protocol behavior are invaluable. These tools, especially when they pivot from signature-based to behavior-based detections, can often sniff out the bad apples. Upgrading firewall rules to scrutinize MQTT traffic is also essential. Combining this with deep packet inspection, or DPI, can uncover concealed threats in the traffic. Next-gen firewalls are often equipped to handle this type of upgraded monitoring off the shelf. Isolating critical assets is also paramount. If a device, say an IoT device, for example, is using MQTT and gets compromised, the intruder is confined to that network segment, restricting lateral movement. An up-to-date system is also a fortress that's hard to breach. Regularly patching and updating systems to neutralize vulnerabilities that attackers often exploit. Strengthening the gates with complex passwords, when feasible, multi-factor authentication, and ensuring end-to-end encryption. If attackers ever intercept data, it remains undecipherable. Really casting a wide net with comprehensive monitoring and logging, where anomalies and suspicious network activity can be promptly detected and thwarted, is key. While MQTT and similar protocols offer immense value in their designed domains, their exploitation by adversaries really underscores the need for proactive, multidimensional security strategies. Relying on single defense mechanisms or not recognizing the potential vulnerabilities of such protocols could leave organizations exposed to sophisticated cyber threats. As APT groups continue to evolve, organizations must stay ahead of investing in advanced threat detection capabilities, enhancing collaboration, and implementing effective security measures. Here's really a blueprint for how you can achieve this. Organizations must adopt advanced threat detection tools to identify, assess, and neutralize threats in real time. As discussed earlier, this can include tools like endpoint detection and response, or EDR, network traffic analysis, security information event management, or SIM systems, among others. Advanced threat detection can spot irregular activities and address anomalies indicating potential breaches. Threat intelligence is the collection and analysis of information about potential threats. By sharing this information across different organizations and platforms, the cybersecurity community can collaboratively identify and respond to emerging threats. And since many attacks target human vulnerabilities, it's critical to regularly train staff on recognizing and avoiding these potential threats. This includes awareness of phishing attacks, safe internet usage protocols and practices, and procedures for reporting suspicious threats. Besides advanced detection capabilities, organizations need to maintain robust fundamental security measures as well. This includes firewalls, IPS, strong encryption protocols, and regular patching and update schedules. An incident response plan outlines the procedures to follow in the event of a security breach. It can help minimize the damage and reduce the recovery time from an attack. Regular drills should also be conducted to ensure the efficacy of the plan and that all stakeholders know their role during an incident. Really building a culture of cybersecurity involves creating an environment where security is everyone's responsibility. It's not just about having the right technology, but also the right mindset across the entire organization. This ever-evolving landscape of cybersecurity threats, constant vigilance, advanced technology, and strong security projects are essential for organizations to stay ahead of APT groups. Collaboration effort and information sharing can also assist in the fortification of your defenses. Collective defense strategies, including platforms like the Cyber Threat Alliance, the Information Sharing and Analysis Centers, or the ISACs, enhance organizations' capability to detect, prevent, and respond to cyber threats. These cooperative ventures pool resources and intelligence from a multitude of participants, broadening the collective knowledge and strengthening the individual defenses. Similarly, government-run information sharing programs provide a critical avenue for public-private collaboration. They offer a platform for organizations to gain insights from government cyber intelligence and vice versa, facilitating an inclusive, comprehensive approach to managing cyber threats. The battle against advanced persistent threat is not one that any organization should face alone. Cybersecurity is a shared responsibility, and by leveraging collective knowledge and resources, organizations can construct effective, multifaceted defense strategies, enhancing their resilience against sophisticated APT groups. So the trend of Chinese APT groups using custom malware will likely persist. Staying ahead of the curve in terms of security posture is paramount, and being vigilant and adaptive, we can better protect against groups like Mustang Panda. It really underlines the pressing need for organizations to stay ahead of the curve, continually enhancing their security posture to preempt these evolving threats. Combating such sophisticated adversaries necessitates a proactive approach, leveraging not only the latest technology tools, but also the shared knowledge within the broader cybersecurity community. Vigilance is key. Every node, every endpoint, every transaction could be a potential entry point for these persistent adversaries. As we navigate this complex cybersecurity landscape, the goal remains clear: to maintain the integrity, confidentiality, and availability of our digital assets, networks against the relentless advances of APT groups like Mustang Panda. As formidable as the challenge may seem, with concerted efforts, the right strategies in place, we can secure our digital frontiers. Now, we know that not everyone has the time, staff, or resources to build their own cyber threat intelligence program. And as a part of our managed detection and response services, Critical Start has a robust cyber research unit that consists of our CTI team, our threat research function, including reverse engineering and malware analysis, as well as a dedicated detection development function. Our CTI team produces timely, actionable, and relevant intelligence to aid in the effective decision-making, understand the operational impact, and empower the technical teams to be proactive. Our customers can leverage our CTI analysts to aid in critical business decisions, build operational playbooks, and stay on the cutting edge of the emerging threats with regular detection content. That's really all I have for the technical side, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you so much, Evgeny. I will pass it back to you for questions.
Thank you very much. Very interesting information. So first of all, before we go to questions, and everybody's listening to us right now, please put questions here. We're happy to answer them. I'm very happy to learn that you were in the Navy as well. I was in the Navy as well. I was in the Israeli Navy for 5 years, a bit different Navy, but Navy is still Navy.
Yeah,
so
Navy, still Navy.
Always happy to talk to somebody that understand the idea of being on a ship, and
Yeah.
it's a bit different there.
It's very different, yeah.
Great. So I'm wondering, and we're gonna dive into the malware itself, and also a bit of Critical Start on what you guys doing. I think there's only one question because I had some question as well. Okay, there's actually a question from Alexander. The enemy customized malware to attack specific target. On the good side, should there be a push for greater customization and fitting of security solutions infrastructures instead of one size fit all? Just deploy it and it will work. Standard approach to tends to prevail. So what do you think about one fit everything,
So that's a really great question. I think that really ties back to signature versus behavior-based detection development. Signature-based detections primarily rely on pattern matching, and that's what you're going to get with an out-of-the-box tool. You're going to get a lot of hashes. You're going to get a lot of, IP addresses, block lists. They're really predefined signatures to scan files and network traffic based on sort of patterns or malware with known attributes. These signatures are essentially digital fingerprints, right? We know what they are. They've been previously analyzed and categorized by malware malicious patterns, and it's highly effective at catching known threats. But it has inherent limitations, right? It's reactive by nature. It only identifies threats after they've been discovered and analyzed. It has to have a signature, so you're missing all of the 0 days. There's no novel exploits, no unknown threats that are going to be caught by these kinds of tools. Bypass signature-based systems until a signature for that threat has been formulated. It's going to completely miss it. And then you also have to consider like polymorphic and metamorphic malware, which change their code or their appearance with successive infections. So it infects once, as it is run again, it changes the code, and that can possibly evade signature-based tools. Where behavior-based detections, and I think this is what you're alluding to, is the detection is often referred to as heuristic or anomalous detection, right? It identifies threats by examining the behavior of the files or programs or activity rather than relying on a known fingerprint. And that approach is really designed to catch these malicious activity based on how they act and how they proceed through the system, what impact they have on the network as they move, versus a specific fingerprint or a specific signature that a known attack has.
So something to that from myself also to Alexandra is, yeah, we shouldn't just have one tool that fits all. We need to customize tools for the environment because every architecture is different. I'm architect by trade. So you really need to look and understand what's happening in your environment. How's the communication done? Is it a SaaS communication? It's on-prem communication? How many different layers do you have? How many different networks do you have? And if somebody tells you just deploy it and run it, it's a mistake. I also personally don't like the term best practices because best practices are written by a human being. So it was a best practice for this particular person, for this particular environment. That could be a recommended basic configuration from a vendor, but then you will need to build on top of it. I also, in my mind, I assume the vendors in a SaaS environment right now should already provide you the recommended settings and just let you enable it. We're way overdue that you need to go and tinker by yourself with all the stuff that vendor didn't do before. So hope it's explaining this particular question. You tapped into the behavior part and the signature part, and I think it's a major change in general because 20 years ago we had the signatures and AV and huge databases that we used to deploy on the laptops, and the antivirus will be very big, and every time we have a new DAT file, it may crash or may not work. How we deal with this topic right now, because it's not just on our laptops, it's also on the network, it's also on the cloud. And maybe it's a good time to explain what is the secret sauce you guys provide in Critical Start, and what do you take from the vendors, and how you combine both to actually understand and get faster to resolution for the customers, because we assume people will have problems, but it's just to resolve them quicker.
Sure. Yeah. So it's kind of a blend, right? You want to have both behavior and signature-based detection. Signature-based detections is going to be a rapid response, right? A 0-day breaks, somebody's been exploited, you see the signature, you put it in a block list. Of course, that's going to be a good first step, but that can't be your only step. Right, the cybersecurity landscape, you're going to want to blend the two. While signature-based detections offer that rapid detection for known threats, the behavior-based detections can cast a wider net. They're more evergreen, right? You want to get as close to the TTP level of detection as possible. And so what we really strive to do at Critical Start is, yes, we will deploy the first signature-based detection in a 0-day situation or a P1 situation. But as we build our detections for each tool, we're going to utilize sort of that pyramid of pain approach, right? We're going to try to get as close to that TTP level as we can. And what that's going to do is ensure the sort of evergreen nature of this detection. It's not going to change with the next deployment of the tool. It's not going to, to change a hash or an IP address is milliseconds sometimes. And so you really can't rely on that for very long. But when you build those detections, targeting the tactics, techniques, and procedures, what those things don't change as frequently as something like a hash or an IP or another artifact, right? You're really going to want to make sure that your detections are as evergreen as possible, and that what that prevents is, one step of the process being changed and the whole detection needs to be rewritten, right? You can still, you can have sort of a attack chain or a kill chain, and if one step changes, the majority of the kill chain is still going to be the same. You're still going to see the same behavior sequences that are going to alert your detection, whether one sub procedure changes or not. And so that's kind of the framework that we operate on at Critical Start.
This is good. In this case, and I'm more helping, I want to, because people are always intrigued about the idea of 0-day.
Yeah.
If 0-day need a signature to block it later on, why the behavior tools, or maybe the behavior tools, can understand it's a problem and they will not care it's a 0-day, because as you mentioned, the tactic didn't really change, it's something new.
Sure.
It's a different way of talk.
Yeah. So when you're looking at it realistically, we know when you are talking about initial access, we can identify, 80% of the time, this is the next step in the kill chain, no matter what the malware is, right? And 20%, 10% of the time it goes here, and 10% of the time the next step is here. And so when we have those statistics around how malware chain pivots and what that percentage is, eventually you get to like, this is always the next step, right? Eventually you get so far to the right on the MITRE matrix that says, like, when you're talking about initial access, by the time you get to exfiltration, it's a funnel, right? There's fewer and fewer options as you get further and further to the right on the MITRE matrix. There's only a certain number of known tactics, techniques, and procedures. And when you're going across the matrix and you're ticking those boxes and you're saying, okay, initial access, we've got 10 options. We pivot to option 2, right? From option 2, we've only got 4 options for the next step, right? For lateral movement, there's only 4 options, and we pivot here. And now from lateral movement, we only know it's going to be one of 2 things. So building that behavior sequence for each detection, for each tool, is going to really give you a fine-tuned insight into what the next step likely is going to be. And it gives you a really high confidence when you're saying we're detecting this behavior sequence, because we know that if it goes from initial access here and then lateral movement here and then persistence here and then exfiltration, like by the time we get over here, we actually know what exactly is going to happen from a predictive capacity. So that's kind of what we lean into when we're looking for detection development, and we try to get as high up that chain as we possibly can.
Thank you. For everybody listening, if you're not familiar with MITRE ATT&CK frame, you should definitely be familiar with them. I'm going to put a link here. There's MITRE ATT&CK. There's also MITRE DEFEND. It's been developing for the last 2.5 years. That's still not widely adopted, but I expect quite a lot of things from MITRE DEFEND as well. Definitely interesting.
Yeah.
I want to get back to, sorry, you want to say something?
And I was going to say, and in conjunction with that, the MITRE mitigation is great too. So a lot of those MITRE mitigation, or a lot of the MITRE attack and defend steps have correlative values and mitigation recommendations from the MITRE matrix based on some of the stuff I was talking about as well.
So I want to get back to MQTT because it's interesting protocol. I actually personally was not familiar with the protocol. Is there any alternatives to the protocol, or the people that actually, I'm not sure who are behind the protocol, because they plan to patch the protocol to prevent the problem with the malware?
Yeah, so there are some open source tools, Snort, I think Bro is called Zeek now. I think they got acquired recently. So there are some popular open source options for sort of like network intrusion detection. I don't necessarily think that getting rid, like bypassing this tool. I think that it really has some good benefit to utilize. I don't think it's something that you need to say, well, that's vulnerable, we're not going to use it at all, right? I think if you understand the inherent risks and, there aren't, like you said before, there's not a one size fits all answer, right? MQTT has a couple of variations. There's MQTT SN for sensor networks. There's COAP, which is, I forget what co-op stands for, but it's basically, there's variations that are designed. I think it's the wireless network version, but there's various versions designed so that you can customize it to your specific needs, right? The connectivity, MQTT-SN can operate over other protocols besides TCP/IP, making it sort of more flexible in certain environments, depending on what your configuration is. You can use topic IDs to reduce the size of the message header. There's lots of
This will be determined by the manufacturing, I'm guessing, not by us. The manufacturing of the IoT and OT devices will need to change the base protocols they're using.
Yeah, so from MQTT-SN, there's a variation of the MQTT designed for wireless sensor networks. And so you can use it on different protocol. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be TCP/IP. So that's kind of what I was saying. But there's sort of this layered approach that I think, typically, just like MQTT-SN doesn't inherently provide encryption, you can layer security on top of it. Typically TLS, SSL, or DTLS for non-TCP/IP networks, for this data being encrypted and transferred. And there's sort of additional security measures that you can overlay in order to bolster the security of MQTT itself.
So if we're going to go deeper on this rabbit hole,
sure.
if you put encryption, that the people that listening, then you need to make sure and understand that your sensors like IDS, IPS, navigation firewalls maybe will be blind what's happening inside the protocol. And potentially there could be a way to be in the middle, potentially not, depending on what the environment. But this is the part that need to be important, that if you put magic navigation firewall, as we say, one size fits all, and you encrypt the traffic, it will be blind.
Right. So regardless of the chosen protocol, it can't be an afterthought, right? You have to sort of think through this, configure it in a way that's going to make sense, do a little bit of threat modeling, implement robust security measures through all of the deployment scenarios, understanding the threat landscape. It's really a balance between what is the user experience and what is the most stringent security measure, right? So it's a delicate balance is all I can say, and it's very unique per environment. And while these security layers can help offer these sort of essential protections, it's really difficult to make a blanket statement, right? It's going to depend on the organization. It's going to depend on their risk tolerance. It's going to depend on their infrastructure. How many people do they have that can monitor to deep packet inspection on their IT networks? And is it a one-man security shop? What kind of resources are they working with? So there's a lot of things that play into how an organization specifically can sort of robust, make their security posture more.
Unfortunately, many companies don't have a high-end, deeper inspection engineers on staff. That basically the entire day is sitting and exploring and understanding the packets. This is why companies, in my mind, need to figure out how to work with MSPs and MSSPs, because you guys and company like yours have the staff that you can pool. This is their specialty to understand protocols.
Exactly. This is exactly what we do. This is exactly why we do it, right? We want to prevent breaches at the most fundamental level. And in order to do that, you really need the support system and the structure and that scaffolding around your organization to be able to do that.
We have another question.
Sure.
Looking forward, what do you think there are challenges in detecting and defending from this custom-made malware? This is a good question.
What do I think are the challenges?
Not the challenges. I think there are the challenges. Yeah, basically, what will prevent us to do a better job, and what potentially are the solutions to do a better job?
Sure. So solutions right now, it's definitely a multidimensional approach is the only way forward, right? You need an MDR, you need robust security teams internally, you need cyber threat intelligence, you need like we kind of talked about, we talked through information sharing and collaboration with outside organizations. All of those things are imperative to doing a good job now. What do I see for the future? There's sort of some emerging trends that I think can be both beneficial for defenders and also something that is just going to continue the exploit process on the attacker side, right? I would say like edge computing security is going to be kind of a next step. Edge computing pushes sort of like data processing tasks closer to like a system level. It decentralizes processing and storage, and it presents new security challenges, but it also, the computing power behind it provides additional resources for defenders. Attack surface expansion, data at rest, network concerns, all of these things are going to be rolled up into this sort of edge computing security. I think quantum computing is a cool kind of rabbit hole that we
now
could
you're going to open different. Yes, let's not go there now.
But I think that the power and the technology behind the development of quantum computing is going to make its way into the security space and the cybersecurity space. And I think the resources that is going to provide, much like AI has provided in the recent, in the last year, look at all the advances that AI has given defenders in terms of code validation and all of those things. I think the power behind quantum computing is going to make its way into the cyberspace, and we're going to be able to lean on additional resources and have additional sort of like current encryption methods are going to be more robust, and more sort of like classical algorithms are going to be less vulnerable to decryption and that kind of thing. What else?
I can add from my side. Meanwhile, you're thinking,
please.
I'm a big believer of go back to basics. So if you need to prevent from malware, or detect malware, or respond to malware, we need to understand our assets. So we need to have asset management done really well and understand where everything is located. We also sometimes running and buying fancy tools and forgetting procedures. So if you found a problem and we need to reply or respond to a problem, we need to have a playbook. And if you have a good playbook, then we can automate the playbook, and then we can respond quicker and faster. And this is, for me, one of the fundamental and boring steps, but important steps that you need to do.
Yeah, and I think too, like going back to what you said, going back to the basics is like, in order to detect malware, you need to understand malware, right? You need to have malware analysis. You need to have reverse engineering, or at least some capacity to outsource that. And you need to understand exactly what you're looking at, so that detection development process has sort of a solid vein of real world samples, real deployed live malware to build detections based on. It's not this sort of theoretical detection development that you get with a lot of out of the box tools.
Great. I hope we answered the question. Now, before we wrap up, I want to kind of pick your brain.
Sure.
For the customers that are looking for MSSP, what will you suggest to ask MSSPs to kind of know that there are true MSSPs are going to support them? Like a couple of ideas. I know it could be a lot, but some things that you think is important.
There's a lot there. I would say the number one thing is audit your resources internally and decide how much support you actually need for management. And what I mean by that is, do they offer managed endpoint? Do they offer managed SIM services? Is there some component where you can measure your progress in increased security posture over time? Will they do an initial assessment and then give you another assessment in 6-12 months so that you know what policies have improved? What's your detection rate? Do you offer an IR retainer? Right? Do you have a good IR investigative capacity if there was ever an incident that happened? And is that part of the MDR MSP? So those are kind of the big ones. And obviously I can answer more.
This is good nuggets. This is really, really good nuggets, because basically, if you don't have a way to metric your service, if it's MSP or whatever it is, then you don't know the value you're paying for.
Exactly. And really it's down to resource, right? What resources do you have to manage this internally on your own, and how much of that can the MDR MSSP solve for you?
Great. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Great to have you on a call, and thank you people that listen to us right now. I'm going to listen to us in the future as well. Don't forget to check our future and our past webinars as well on the website. We're going to put the link right now here that you know as well. And we have another webinar coming in September. And Callie, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Kenny, for having me.